where interest rates are getting ready to lower. Starting next month, guys. We're here in August, and starting next month, interest rates, right? Is starting to go down on our homes in particular. And so some of us have bought homes maybe 2 years ago where interest rates, you bought it at 7, 6%. And now we got an opportunity to kind of tap into the equity. I'm going to talk about that tonight. But I do want to share this with you guys. We're also on September the 12th. Write this down. September the 12th. Ebony Ferguson. She is a mortgage broker. She is going to give us a deep dive on really how to, if you're looking to buy a house for a first time, if you're looking to buy investment property, if you're looking to refinance, we're going to touch on that tonight. But anything, everything, anything, everything, all finances when it comes to real estate, Ebony is going to come to us on September the 12th and give us a webinar as a mortgage broker, right? What does it take to buy a house? What your credit score need to be like? What the down payments need to be like, right? How can you leverage your current house that you're in to use that to buy another home in itself? Tonight, we're going to cover some good information, but she's going to go more into deep dive from a mortgage broker perspective. So without further ado, guys, it's 8 o'clock and I'm not going to be long tonight. We're going to get right into it and just go over tonight. And I got a great example here of how we can tap into our equity into our homes. All right. So let's get right into it and let's just talk about it here. All right. Okay. So tapping into home equity. So we buy a house. And once we get into a house, we've been in the house for say 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then as time goes and we get into a house, the equity continues to grow. All right. So right now, when we look at interest rates right now, as of today, is at 6.40%. All right. 6.4% is where the 30-year fixed mortgage is at. So if you got a good credit score, if you're looking to buy a house right now, you can get that 6.4%. All right. Now, last year, interest rates this time on the 30-year fixed mortgage was at 7%. 3 years ago in 2021, if you want to get a 30-year fixed mortgage, it was right here at 3% because we was in the COVID environment where interest rates were very, very low. All right. Now, when we talk about equity, let's talk about this. What is actually equity? Equity is basically you take your home value. All right. So your home value minus what you owe. The difference in that is your equity. All right. Your home value minus what you owe. We're going to go in detail on this in a few minutes here. So let's look at this. So when we look at this example right here of equity, you take if your home value in this example here is $500,000 and you currently owe $100,000, that means that you have equity of $400,000. All right. That will be your equity here, $400,000. All right. So when we look at this here, $400,000, this is what a lot of people will be able to tap into to help change your current financial situation to help you get ahead. Now let's go here and look in this a little bit. And so when we talk about to help you get ahead, there's two different type of refinances. All right. There's what you call a cash out refinance, and there's something what you call a home equity line of credit. When you hear somebody say a HELOC, this is what they talk about, a home equity line of credit. I'm going to break this down here to you. So when you refinance, there's two different types. All right. So when you get right up here into a cash out refinance, so a cash out refinance is you take out cash. And let's say, for instance, you got an interest rate of 2%. All right. And you want to refinance. Then what's going to happen is if you refinance and you go into a higher interest rate of say 4%, then your overall terms condition on your mortgage is going to change. Your whole mortgage is going to change. So if you go from 2% to 4% to take out cash, then more than likely your mortgage is going to go up because now you went from 2% to 4%. Well, during COVID, a lot of people were in a backwards position. They were at 4%, but then had a chance to refinance to 2%, while at the same time had an opportunity to take out cash. All right. That's what a lot of people did, including guess who? Me. Right. This is what cash out refinance. So cash out refinance, think about it. It changes your overall own condition itself. All right. And I will be just tell you right about now, doing a cash out refinance, right about now, this is not the best method to do when it come out of the two different types of refinances, cash out refinance, because I'm gonna tell you why. Most people refinance their home during COVID. You could have got a 3% interest rate during COVID. Matter of fact, Leslie and I, we did a 15-year mortgage. We refinanced in 2021 to 2%. So if mortgage interest rates right now is 6%, 6.4%, and I got a 2% interest rate, it does not make sense for me to do a cash out refinance. All right. But then let's go right here and look at the second type. Let's go and look at a HELOC, the home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit. That's what a HELOC is. A HELOC is totally different than a cash out refinance. When you do a HELOC, and if you got this 2% interest rate, it does not impact your current long term. So your long term still stays the same. It's not affected. But what happens is when you get a HELOC, you get what we call as a second line of credit, like a credit card. So in this example right here, if you take this 500,000 minus what you owe, 100,000 is $400,000, and the bank say, okay, you got equity of $400,000, then this is money. If you was to sell your house, this is the amount of money that you would make minus realtor fees, taxes, and things of that nature, right? But now you can tap into this $400,000 because if you sell your house, this is what you would potentially get. But how can you actually tap into this while still owning your house? This is where we're at now with a HELOC. A HELOC in our current condition is one of the best scenarios to take advantage of because if you got a low interest rate, you still can keep your low interest rate. But with a HELOC now, you can now tap into your home equity line of credit. And as you see here, I have it, it's almost like a credit card because guess what? A bank, a lender will give you a line of credit tomorrow simply because when you take this line of credit, they're going to know that they're going to make extra money off of you because you're going to pay interest on this here. Now, the reason why HELOC is so attractive now is because interest rates are starting to go lower. And last year around this time here, if you want to get a HELOC will cost you anywhere from 10 to 12%. But right now, guys, with interest rates going down, you can get a HELOC as low as 7% right about now. So if you got credit card debt that's 20%, 22%, 25%, and you paying interest on that, where you can tap into your home mortgage and you can get a HELOC and you can get a 7% loan, you can now take money out your house, pay off the credit card, a 7% versus 25%. That's the plan here I want to show you guys. And I got a great example here where we kind of look at some different little scenarios here and look and see how this works. All right. This is what I'm going to show you here. Okay. So let's look at an example here. Let's look at this example here. So we got an example here of a person home value is $445,000. All right. And they currently owe $110,000. Before we go further into detail, can somebody tell me what's their home equity? Anybody can unmute and tell me what's the home equity right now for this particular person.
The value of your home minus how much you owe on the property.
That's correct. What's that
Three
number?
$35,
I'm gonna
$335,000.
take y'all back to math class today.
Mhm.
What's that? Who is that? Who is that?
It's toy.
All right. So here it is. That home value, right? The home equity in this particular case right here. All right. Is $335,000. All right. This will be the equity in this particular person, right? So they're going to have $335,000 that they can tap into. All right. But this particular person here, here's their scenario. All right. Here's their scenario. They got a car payment, $750 a month, and that balance in that car payment is $32,000. They got credit card debt of $12,000, and they're paying right about now, they're paying off this pretty aggressively at $1,600 a month. And then they got a house at $110,000 balance, and that mortgage on that house now is $1,200 a month. So when I spoke to them, they said, "Well, Sherwin, I want to tap maybe possibly into my home equity. And how would that look like if I paid off my house and if I paid off all of my bills?" And at first, I'm thinking like, "Wow, that's a lot of money to take out on a home equity line of credit." But once I kind of ran the numbers, I was like, this is pretty interesting. So we're gonna look at this here. Can you guys hear me? Are we good? I'm kind of messing up my volume here. You guys good? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All
Yes.
right, good. You guys can hear me. All right, good, good, good. All right. So let's go back and look at this. Guys, this is a real live scenario what a person asked me, and I want to go through this here, right? So let's look at this here. If we add this up, I'm gonna come up with a calculator here, right? And we're gonna add up this person here balance between their debt, including, guys, guess what? We're gonna add up including the house, right? If we pay this house off, all, it's going to show us, right, what's the balance in this here. And I'm going to pull up a HELOC calculator for you guys. All right. So let's say, for instance, the house here is $110,000. All right. Take $110,000. All right. Then we go right here. We take $12,000 and we pay off the credit cards here, which they are more than 7%. And then we go right here and we take this car. We want to pay off this car here, right? So we take $32,000. All right. So, guys, this right here is $154,000 here. But mind you, we go back and we look at this right here, right? This person here, if you take this 445,000, $110,000 right here, they got $335,000 in equity. All right. Now, here's what happens here. We're gonna deep dive into this here. I want to share this with you guys. Here's what the bank does. The bank says that, hey, look, based on your loan to value. So your loan to value is basically whatever the original loan was, and based on whatever your value of your house now, we're gonna give you 80% of that. So this person here has basically that amount. The bank will give them $154,000. All right. So let's do this here. If they was to take $154,000 and they did a home equity line of credit, all right, and it's like a credit card. What we want to do is we want to go right here and we're going to look at an example here. All right. In this example right here, this is what you call a mortgage calculator, and it's a HELOC calculator. All right. So we used to go right here, right? And let's say, for instance, if we used to go right here and put $154,000 right here. All right. And this person right here, let's say, for instance, their interest rate was at 7.9%. All right, on this HELOC. So they take this $154,000 right here, guys, and guess what they do? All right. They take the $154,000 and it's cash to them. All right. Let's talk about this. That's cash money. That bank, you apply for that HELOC, and as soon as you approve for it, they're gonna give you the cash. They're gonna put it in your account like tomorrow. Now, here's a couple conditions in order to get that. One, you got to have active income to show that you can pay back the loan. Second of all, you need to have at least a minimum credit score of 660 points in order to do a HELOC. I got a person right about now, credit score that's 580 points, and they have about a $500,000 in equity, but they can't tap into it because their credit score is low. They got the income, but the credit score is low. So they won't be able to tap into their particular HELOC or the equity until they get the credit score up to at least a minimum of 660. So we're working with them on that to get the credit score up. That's basically paying down some of the debts, right? Because once they can get into that home equity line of credit, it's going to be able to help them pay off a lot of things like this example I'm getting ready to show you here. So when we go back right here and we look at this here, right? This person now, guys, take $154,000, right? And guess what they do? All this $154,000, guess what they do? They now take $110,000 or $154,000. They pay off the house. They take another 154 out of another other 154,000. They take the 12,000. They pay the credit cards off. If you go right here and look at the car payments, they go and pay the car off, guys. Now, here's what this person is able to save on a monthly basis, right? They're able to save right here $1,200 because they don't have a mortgage payment any longer. Now, granted, they will pay escrow, your property taxes and insurance, but we'll just use for tonight purposes $1,200, right? Then you go right here, their credit cards, they're paying $1,600 a month. That's going to be another $1,600 a month that they're going to be able to save. All right. And then you go right here in this car payment, they're making $750 a month. All right. That on that car note, that's what they're paying. So realistically, guys, if you add all of this up here, they're paying $3,550 a month towards these particular bills right here. Now, if they go and they get this HELOC, if you take currently right about now, if they take $154,000 and that interest rate here is 7.9%, you see what their minimum monthly payment is going to be? This right here is going to be $1,000 right here, payment that they're going to have. But guys, if you go back and you look at it, right, they was paying $1,200 a month just on the mortgage. All right. But now they can have all of this paid off. And then now what they're doing is they're looking at roughly about $1,000 a month. And this is almost like paying your mortgage. But now they're saving $3,500 a month on basically all the bills that they were paying. All right. Now, here's the thing about this though. If you take this $154,000 here, right? Now, this is going to go if you ever decide to sell your house. Instead of having $335,000 in equity, if you was to ever decide to sell your house, you don't have about $335,000 in equity no more. You now got the second mortgage here that you're going to also have to pay off if you don't pay this off by the time that you pay the house off or pay this off. So your equity will decrease, but now you have more monthly cash flow coming in where you don't have this extra $3,550 a month that you're paying on. All right. Now, I want to say this right here, the long term on this right here, I want to say this is over 15. I want to say this is over 15 years, and that's important here to know that here, right? Let me see here. I believe it's 15 years here. Yeah, this calculator here runs on 15 on a 15-year note. All right. So, guys, this is why it's important right here when you look at it, because this scenario right here, this freeing up $3,500 in cash. So if you got credit card debt, now this is just one example. You you don't have to take $154,000. Let's say, for instance, you got credit card debt and you got credit card debt of say $20,000 here, right? You're going to use this calculator, right? You're going to hit calculate, right? So on $20,000 here, right? On a 7.9% interest rate, guys, you paying $131 a month. If you paying 25% of this on your interest rate on your credit cards, right? And I believe me, see if I can adjust that here, right? So think about this. Instead of paying $131 a month, if you got $20,000 on a credit card and you paying 25% interest, right? Guys, you're paying $416 every single month on this particular credit card. All right. But now when you got an opportunity to go and to tap into some of that equity, right, and get some cash flow, you're gonna save a bunch of money because you're gonna pay in a heck of a lot less in interest. And at the same time, you're going to be able to have some cash flow in the event if you need to do some things, home improvements. Guys, what I do not recommend in this particular case, let me just say this and then I'm done. This is going to be a short session. I'm going to take questions. I'm done. What I do not recommend, we do not go buy no boat. We do not go on vacation with this money. Uh, Basically, what I'm getting at, guys, we do not spend this money on liabilities. If you're going to take money out your house, do it for a purpose to pay off your credit card debt. Or, guys, guess what? Here's what real estate investors do. They start playing Monopoly now. So guess what? Now you take this money here, right? And you got some equity into your house. And let's say, for instance, you got one home, and then now you need about $50,000 for a down payment if you want to go buy another house. All right. So guess what? Now you take this $50,000 right here, right, from your HELOC on your home, and now you use this to go buy a second house, but at 7.9% interest rate, you're going to pay $329 a month. So yeah, you took out some debt. Yeah, you got this $329 payment, but when you go and buy that investment property, and that investment property on your monthly cash flow, if it could pay some of this or all of this here, guess what, guys? Now you got two properties that's actually increasing in value, and where the equity is continuing to increase. Because the best thing about investment property on your mortgage payment, your tenant's paying that. And if your tenants can pay the mortgage payment plus the amount of money that you was able to take out for a HELOC to buy the house, guys, you know what that's called? In real estate, I talked about that this week on social media. Real estate, that's what you call it's ideal, but that's the L in ideal is called leverage, where you're able to take money from your house, use that money, and then now go buy another house, and you didn't use not one red cent of your own money. You just took money out your house to go buy another house. So that's another way if you want to use money in a HELOC to go buy an investment property. Now I've done that. I did it through a cash out refinance. But guess what, guys? If I want to go now, I'm looking at interest rates now where it's starting to lower, man. Interest rates eventually, they're at 6%. Eventually, they're going to go to 5%. Eventually, they're going to go to 4%. I believe this time next year, we might be looking at high fours, low fives on interest rates. So I would suggest don't go do no refinancing now, right? Because interest rates are going to continue to go lower. Wait till they get lower, right? High five, I mean the low high fours, low fives, take advantage of it because now you saw that 7.9% interest rate here, right? It's going to continue to go down on this HELOC. So if you can get a 7.9%, imagine instead of paying $329 on $50,000, imagine this now go down to say 6.5%. So instead of paying this $329 per month, right? Look how this is, right? Now you paying $270 a month because interest rate going to continue to go down. All right. It's just now starting next month, but it's eventually going to go down. So these are the things right here where I say, okay, look, this is for a multi-purpose. If you want to get ahead in life, we couldn't do this last year because interest rates were very, very high. But now we got an opportunity. And one of my recommendations would be if you have credit card debt, man, look, if you own a house, you could tap into that particular equity and pay off your bills. All right. If you got a house already and you want to buy more houses, this is one way to do it. Now, for me, I own several different houses, right? And so for me, it's like I got equity in all of the houses. And so I'll just say this right here because you guys know I'm very transparent. I got a double comma equity that's access to me. I got over $1 million right about now where I can just tap into equity right about now. So for me, all I'm worried about is trying to find the right deal at the right time and the right location. And once I find that deal, all I got to do is be able to choose one of the houses I want to pull money from, and now I'll go buy another house. When you guys see how real estate investors, when they go and buy houses, that's all they do. All they doing is using leverage to tap into one house to buy the next house. And guys, if you really want to level up, instead of buying houses, you can go and buy commercial buildings to where you can go and buy apartment buildings, where you can go and buy commercial buildings. Like all that stuff, guys, is good. So Dewan says, yes, I'm paying off credit card debt and picking up a multi-unit. So I spoke to Dewan. She was one of the ones that I had conversations with, right? About doing a HELOC. She's put an application in. All right. And so the person that's giving us a webinar on September the 12th, she does HELOCs. All right. Miss Ferguson, you guys can be able to hear directly from her how she specifically deal with HELOCs, the special qualifications. And again, like I was saying earlier tonight, she's going to give you even more a deeper view because she's a mortgage broker. She didn't want to sit on the other end of the table, right? And tell you, what your loan terms are going to be. All right. But tonight is just the financial information to seed you guys to help you if you got credit card debt, if you got personal loans. Hell, if you want to pay off your car and your car is, say, a high interest rate, you can refinance it. You don't necessarily have to get a home equity line of credit, guys. But if you got a car note, and man, look, I mean, if you bought a car within the last 2 years and you have perfect credit, you still pay 7-8% interest rate on your car. You can go and refinance your car. You don't necessarily have to have a HELOC, but you can get a car at a lower rate. All right. But guys, that's all I have tonight. I want to go. I want to just get right to the point, but tap into it if you got an opportunity to some equity. Now, a lot of people, here's the deal. They don't necessarily like debt. And here's what I would tell you about debt. Guys, it only take one risk taker in your family to change your tree and to become a generational multimillionaire. It's that one person in your family. Guess what? That one person in your family, they do not mind taking on debt. Because if you look at it, most people, right, that take on debt is called good debt when it comes to if they're very, very successful. Because that good debt, they realize that, hey, look, that tenant can actually pay down your debt. So if you think about it, right, if you go and get that loan, you get that loan, yeah, you got the debt, but if you can get somebody else to pay the debt and then the value of what you buying continue to go up, it's a win-win situation. But here's what we lack. We lack faith. And when we lack faith, you can't have fear and faith because they do not mix. So you got to be to the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm gonna live like no one else now, so I can live like no one else later. Most people are afraid to do some of these things, what I'm saying, because of the fact that they don't necessarily have the faith to know that, okay, I'm picking up this debt. Now it's an extra monthly payment. But again, let your assets pay for the debt. And once you do that, it's gonna be perfect. But if you got credit card debt and you in 25% plus in credit card debt, look, this is the method to pay down that credit card debt even quicker because you got to ask yourself, do I want to pay 25% or I got an opportunity to pay 7%? Which one do I want to take advantage of? Obviously, the 25%, I'm paying more interest. The 7%, I'm paying less interest. So you got to think about it. And when do I want to have this debt paid off? Do I want to have it paid off in 30 years? Or do I want to have it paid off in the next 5 years? Do I want to have this debt paid off in 5 years? Or do I want to have this debt paid off in the next year? That's the question you got to ask yourself right here. All right. So again, as a summary, there's two different type of finances here. I got a question here from when you pay off your house, will I lose my homestead exemption? Man, Sharon, that's a very great question in itself. Now, I would say here from my preliminary answer here, no, because it's your primary home. Your homestead exemption has nothing to do with your mortgage in itself, right? They don't care if you got a mortgage or not. But if it's your primary home, you will continue to still have the homestead exemption. Now, guys, once you start owning multiple homes, you only get one homestead exemption. You don't get a homestead exemption on the other houses. You only get it on your primary house. And the house that you want to have the homestead exemption on is the one that you pay the most property taxes in. All right. And guys, if you live in the state of Florida, this week you got your proposed 2025 property taxes in the mail this week. And man, I got one of our properties. I looked at the tax bill and it's up 18% than what it was last year on the proposed taxes. So, guys, here's what my thought process to that is, right? I said, well, that's pretty high. Now, on the house that our primary house that we have with the homestead exemption, it only went up 2% because it's got a homestead exemption. But the one that did not have the homestead exemption went up 18%. But guess what you do in this particular case, though, guys, as a landlord? That 18%, as a real estate investor, here's one advantage that you have. Unfortunately, right? If you're on the other side of the playing field, that 18% now is unfortunately passed to the tenants. That's just how the game of the nature work. If you're renting and you feel like your rent going up, that's one of the main reasons why. Because as a homeowner, as a landlord, expenses go up. They're going to pass that down to the tenant. All right. Now, here's another thing. Guys, we all have played the game of Monopoly. We all have played that game. And the rule of Monopoly, and what most people do, is you will eventually find out you will go around that board. And once you go around that board and you pass go, you're going to collect $200. It's almost like you're getting your paycheck. But the key to win that game in Monopoly is if you don't buy any assets, if you don't buy any land, if you don't buy any property in Monopoly, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to become somebody else's asset. That's the same way it works in life in itself. If you don't have a house, you are someone else's asset in itself. If you are not in control of your own personal finances, MasterCard, Visa, you're their asset because you're swiping out there on the credit cards in itself. So take advantage of this opportunity because interest rates are going to continue to go down. If you want to tap into some funds, some money in your house, you can. The opportunity is there. All right, we'll take any questions here. I see Miss May here. Okay, so can't hear me. Can everybody hear me? If you can, just let me know and then unmute and then ask your questions here. It could be on real estate, it could be anything on finances. I'll take questions and then we'll be done.
Hey, Sherwin, this is Dewan. Can you hear me? Sherwin, this is Sherwin, this is Dewan. Can you hear me?
Any questions here? Can you guys hear me? If you can, give me a thumbs up. All right, so I do have a question here that I will okay, I see. Okay, so let me ask this question here. I'm going in the chat here.
Dewan was trying to get you.
Tony, you got a question here, brother? Go ahead.
Dewan was trying to get you.
No.
You see her in the chat?
All right, let me ask this question here, right? So this question here I got says we've been looking at banks for this as well, and we were advised by the bank to see if the rate drops a little more in the next month or two closer to the election. That is true. So the person that sent me this direction here, like I just kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, right now, yes, a good opportunity to wait because interest rates are going to continue to go down even lower. But here's an opportunity to take advantage of this right now. All right. How do you replace your home loan with the HELOC and pay off the home sooner? Tony asked this question here. How do you replace your home loan with the HELOC and pay your house off sooner? So, Tony, we kind of mentioned that, and Anthony, we kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, right? By replacing your home is basically just if you look at your home price, an example that I showed, taking out in that example here. Let me go back over here to it really quick. I want to make sure everybody get this here, right? So in this example here, if you got a house at $110,000 here, and if you took a HELOC at $110,000, then we would literally go right here and we would look at this example right here, for instance, right? If you take this $110,000 here, right, you can literally pay off your house. All right, you get $110,000. Your monthly payment now is going to be $595 here. So to answer your question, how to replace that, if you get whatever your home value is in this HELOC, this is your monthly payment now. And then that's how you replace it. But Anthony, it really don't make no sense to get a HELOC though. If your interest rate on your house maybe say 2% and you owe more than this, it might not make sense to do that in itself. All right. But that's how you replace it here. All right. Okay. Any more questions here?
Hi, Sherwin, this is Dewan. Can you hear me? Sherwin, this is Dewan. Can you hear me?
Any more questions? I like questions, guys. That's how everybody learns. So if you can just
I think you got everybody on mute, Sherwin. Can you hear me?
Guys. Oh, go ahead. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you now. I'm sorry. I had actually my computer on mute. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, Dewan, go ahead. I see you had a question. I'm hearing you guys now. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for the call that we had, and I'm really excited about and I'm just testifying to the group. Like I had over almost around $300,000 worth of equity, and Sherwin is helping me leverage that to pay off some credit card debt, which is about 18,000, and then I'm taking some more out to get a multi-unit, like a fourplex, so I can have, multiple streams of income. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for leading me down that road to have faith over fear.
Absolutely, Dewan. I'm proud of you too, because here's the thing, Dewan. The one thing I like about your story is the fact that not necessarily do you just own a primary home, but you also own a real estate investment property as well. So you know the process and how this works, right? And so for you, it's just okay, taking it to the next level here and want to get that debt paid down. So now that money can be working for you versus against you with another property. So proud of you, sis. Continue to keep it up.
Thanks.
And keep us updated once you get approved.
Oh, I will. Ebony Ferguson is going to do it. So I'll keep the group updated on if she does it right, does it well for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we hopefully we get that before she come on September 12th, and then maybe we can have both of y'all on. We can have a testimony
Oh
Uh,
yes, she
yeah,
said it'd be less than 2 weeks. So and
okay.
I've got all my documents in.
Okay, good, good, good.
Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dewan, for that. All right.
Okay.
Any more questions, guys, on this here? Any more questions? It could be on HELOCs, cash out refinance, budget, whatever, anything finance. Any questions?
I have a
Any,
question, Sherwin.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm normally pretty shy and speaking in the group.
Right.
Um, but for example, when you say or when you recommend to take out a HELOC, do you recommend more so to get an investment property, or do you recommend like paying off um more so that your current house and then go from there?
You know what, Jody, that's a very good question, right? I would be able to be more cautious about paying off a house
Correct.
because
Okay.
the balance is so big. I would be more concerned. I would be more advantageous to say that either pay off a credit card with it
Hmm.
or buy another property.
Okay.
But paying off a house, it's just like, okay, you still having the debts, right?
Right.
But at a lower interest rate. And I don't want necessarily the debts to be too big, but if you're paying off a credit card, maybe say 25,000, you're gonna save
Hmm.
a lot of money per month. But then if you buy another investment property, yeah, you might be accruing a lot more like debts and buying a house, but you're not paying the debt. You know what I'm saying? The tenants.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But I like
And
that
then
question though.
yes, I was thinking about that. And then as far as other people in the group that's or you, Sherwin, that have investment properties, right?
Mhm.
How quick can you fill it with a tenant? Because I think there's like certain rules that maybe has to be occupied by the person um in 1 year. So I guess I don't know the ins and outs of that.
Mhm.
Or I guess it
Yeah,
depends on what loan you get, right?
right. So typically, if you get a FHA loan, right? FHA says, okay, look, if you get that you have to live in that property as your primary residence. But if you buy a multi-unit property, meaning a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, right? You can stay in one unit and rent the other units out, right? But to be honest with you, Jody, I'll be honest with you, right? A mortgage company, that's their rules and regulations before you close on the loan. After you close on the loan, guess what? They not going to seeing if you stand in the prop. Their main concern is you paying that particular loan. Now I don't want to
I see.
say, but I'm just that. So we want to do the right thing, but
Right,
typically,
but I get where you're going with it.
right, right. So I tell people oftentimes, I mean, if you get an FHA and this has got to be your primary home, you get the FHA loan, stay in there a month, 2, 3 months, get you a tenant. Rocket Mortgage ain't finna come to your house and saying, okay. Now here's the only way that I've seen where somebody have had a rental property and their actual property taxes went up. So
Mm,
I had some less than financial members, right? They were military. They were living here in South Florida. They rented out their house and they got stationed in Colorado. And they had a their here's how that happened. Their mailman, right, knew them and saw that they had moved up to Colorado and realized that they had tenants. So they couldn't you can't necessarily have homestead exemption, right? If it's an investment type property like that. And it has to be they consider it to be on your primary. So their property taxes went up and they contacted me and say, Sherwin, like, is there anything I can do about that? Mm, if that mailman say that and they report to the county property appraiser, mm, ain't a lot you can do with that. But you always want to play right, right? But I mean, if you're in the local area, you're still gonna be okay.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Sherwin.
my pleasure. All right. Any more questions here on real estate, finances, anything, anything finance? Any more questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I
I ain't
have,
talked to you in a while either. I was thinking about you earlier today. I say I ain't talked to Odessa.
yeah, we do need to have a conversation.
All right, go
Um,
ahead.
My question is with multiplexes or duplexes and with owning, trying to own one of those, are you trying to look at owning properties that are like freestanding multiplexes versus being involved in a community? Because I was thinking about like the homeowners insurance, where a lot of the Floridians are getting hit double with properties that have HOA, as well as they have to maintain their own HOA property insurance as well.
I'm not sure if I'm tracking your question.
Maybe that's more so for condos. Maybe I'm asking for, because maybe that's more.
Oh yeah, I see where you're going now. Yeah, condo association. Let's say, for instance, they will cover the exterior, right, like your roof. But then the condo will say, okay, look, you must cover like the inside of it as well. Um, I think that's what you're asking, right? Or no?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
That's the question. And then my thing is with that, I know people here like Sarasota, different spots here on this side of West Florida. They've been getting hit double, like between the two. Having to have those two coverages like 10 and 15 and $20,000.
Yeah, because what happened is, Odessa, like with their HOA payment, specifically like on a condo, it significantly goes up if the property taxes go up. Not the property tax, if the insurance go up, then the HOA goes up, and then their premiums on the coverages that they have inside that renews every year goes up. Yeah, they definitely get hit on the double on that for sure.
And
But guys, anything with a home these days, especially if you're in Florida, like Odessa, us, and because of the hurricane a couple years ago. I mean, property taxes in South Florida is like ridiculous, guys. I mean, it's the average property tax. I'm sorry, the average home insurance in Florida is $6,500 per year. That's double compared to any other state in the United States of America. But that's just the nature of the beast when you live in Florida, especially South Florida with the hurricanes.
Sherwin,
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question.
Mhm.
So if you want to get a duplex, you got to put the 20% down, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or though, again, if you use a FHA loan, you only got to put 3% down.
Okay, so but my situation is a little bit different because
Yeah.
I'm married and like the program I was using NACA in the beginning. So I had just started going through NACA.
Mhm.
And so I was going to be able to get it, but NACA is said because I'm married and we have rental property. My husband has rental property already, and it counts against me. So, which sucks. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get around it to be able to get just my own property. And so I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna have to do 20%,
No,
correct?
so Kenyatta, what you would do, right? As long as
Mhm.
you don't necessarily apply with your husband, if you just apply for the mortgage yourself. Now, what you've probably been doing in the past is putting your husband on the application, and once they run his stuff, they realize he got rental problems. You can't do it. But
Uh-huh.
if you don't own a house and you
I
just do
don't.
it in your name, then easily you can do it because now you're buying the house.
Yeah.
Don't add your husband to the application because once you add your husband to that application, you're not gonna get they're gonna make you pay 20%. But you in your particular case, you can go out and buy a duplex right now, just you on the FHA and put 3.53% down right now.
Okay. Okay. So that was my question because I was I was trying to get the 20% to be able to get my first so I was saving that 20%. So
You
I
don't
might be
need
able to
that.
get it quicker than I thought, huh?
So
Okay.
here's how that works.
Okay.
So this a wealth gem right here, guys. I want y'all to, this is a wealth gem. Watch this. So Kenyatta, you don't put your husband on the mortgage. If you go and buy it, since you don't own a house, you can go and buy a duplex. You put 3.5% down using an FHA loan. Now, once you buy the house, then the duplex, then okay, FHA says that has to be your primary home, so you have to live in one of the units and rent the other unit out, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
However you work that out, right? But once you buy that house, and if you want to now add your husband to the deed, right? After you've
Mm-hmm.
already closed on the house, all you do now is a quick claim deed and you add your husband to the house. Or
Okay.
vice versa with you, since your husband have several rental properties and his name now is only on the deed because he bought it before you guys got married. If I
Mm-hmm.
was you, I would be making sure in the event something happened to my husband to avoid probate, instead of doing a trust, I would be making sure that I do a quick claim deed on every single one of the properties to make sure that your name is on the deed, granting you ownership.
So it's not better to put the property, excuse me, to put the properties in the trust. It's not better to put the properties in the trust and me be executor of the trust.
Absolutely, you could do that too. But the quickest route to get your names on the house, as far as
Mm-hmm.
ownership is doing a quick claim deed.
Okay.
Quickest way.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the cheapest way because a quick claim deed, you go to a title company and do that, it might cost you $400.
Mm-hmm.
And they record it with the city, 2 weeks, your name on the deed.
Okay, but I can apply for an FHA loan um right now to try to get my first rental property.
Only you, not
Only
husband.
me.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, that's what I'm gonna do because I've been saving for it. So
yeah, yeah,
um
absolutely.
and Sherman, just another quick question. So I was also looking into buying some tax liens, doing some tax liens.
Uh-huh.
Is what do you think about that? Because I have an attorney friend who not attorney, I'm sorry, a real estate agent that used to buy tax lien properties for this man who got like, I don't know, a gazillion properties. I think he has like over 300 properties. But she offered to teach me the game because she know everybody there and she already has construction workers and things like that to be able to get the house to par. And
Mhm.
so I was thinking about just doing some tax liens. But what are you thinking about that?
I generally used to like. I still don't think it's a bad deal. It's just not liquid. Like you put your money into it, but then you have to wait. You get a tax lien, okay, then okay, that particular person don't pay their property taxes, and then you wait in order to get your return on interest on it. Then you don't have access to your principal. So for me, it's just like I did a class on tax liens a couple years ago, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
it's another way of maybe diversifying your investments, but it's not like liquid where if you put your money towards an investment and then you need to touch the principal at say a certain point in time, you can't necessarily do that because your money is tied up into that lien until it actually is paid out. When the city pays the that person pays their property taxes, then you get and each state or city has their own interest that they pay with the
Mm-hmm.
tax lien in itself. So for me, I just I talk a lot about it because it's not liquid.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. And actually, guys, this picture in the background here is the latest house that we bought, which was 2 years ago. And I'm itching right about now to buy more. But it's we bought it. What's his name? It's a guy from a Less Win Financial member on here, right? You guys probably heard me say the story quite a bit. Uh, I bought it from him. He was not a Less Win Financial member. But I told him what I was doing in financial education. He said, "Man, I would like to join the group." And he's been with Let's Win Financial ever since. We've helped them everything when it comes to finances. And so he was selling the house. And I say, "Hey, man, give me the first dibs on it." He gave me the first dibs. So we went and bought it, went in and did renovations to it. And 2 years now, it's been rented out. And Jody, to answer your question, when we bought it, I think it took us 3 weeks to rent it out after we closed on it. And the tenant was ready to move in. We hadn't finished the renovations on it. So I had to rush the renovations just to get the tenant in. Um, and so, guys, we talk about real estate investing all the time. And what y'all see on social media, the money wise and everything, it's good. But I'll be honest with you, and Dewan can probably tell you, it's work into it. It's a process, especially if you self-manage. Now, if you don't want to self-manage, you got to pay a property manager. They'll take out some of the headaches, but you still got to pay a fee. Um, but it's worth it. It's worth it. But again, like I was saying, now, if you live like no one else now, you'll live like no one else later. But 90% of millionaires, guys, I would just say this right here, own real estate, not just a primary house, multiple properties. Because what happens is now you got multiple properties and you got multiple properties that's actually growing in value and equity, right? So that's that money that's actually working for you guys while at the same time you're on vacation. That money working for you while at the same time you at the pool drinking, you drink. You know what I'm saying, Joe? That's you got a question.
You're showing. I have a question. Yes, I want to be by the pool having my drink. But
Yeah,
question for you, with the FHA loan, you could only get that one time, right?
that's correct. Yeah, you can only
Okay.
have one. Yeah.
So, all right.
Mhm, mhm. But that's not to say, okay, look, you get just the way I look at it. So let's say, for instance, you get an FHA loan, and then you get an FHA loan, and then you want to buy another house. Well, you could rent out your house that you have with a FHA loan and refinance it and make it conventional. And then when you go buy your next house, then your next house now can be a FHA loan, because now when you refinanced it, you got it into conventional, and then your next house can be FHA. A lot of people do that. They'll just keep buying houses, but then they'll refinance, put in the conventional, and then buy the next house with FHA.
Oh, Sherman, last quick question. Sorry. What do
Mhm.
you think about the monkeypox? And are you interested in buying the stock, the two companies that or have the vaccine or whatever for the monkeypox?
I ain't never heard of.
Sherman, you don't watch the news?
Look, I don't even know. I don't
It's
even know
like
what
the
that is.
COVID. It's like the COVID, but it's the monkeypox. And it's like a bad form of chickenpox that leaves scars all over your body. It's really bad. The Health World Organization just on what's today? Tuesday made it an international thing like the COVID. That it's hitting a lot of countries. So anyway, so it's two companies that have the vaccine. One is Swedish and one is American. And so I don't know if you had heard about it. So I was just wondering, because a lot of people that I buy stocks with, they are buying the stocks. They're very cheap. And so I don't know, but I was gonna ask you about that. So maybe you research it and then get back with me.
Hadn't heard of, but I'll definitely research and see. It's good info to know. But I'll definitely do research and check it out. And I read the Wall Street Journal every morning, guys. So if it ain't in the Wall Street Journal, I probably don't know about it, right? So I hadn't seen that in the Wall Street Journal, but I'll look. I'll do some further research. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah. All right. Any more questions? Any more questions? I see, let's say for instance, I'm gonna say this and then I'll be done. I see, like, for instance, there's a guy here, Ben Jackson, right? And he has access to what we call a VA home loan. And with a VA home loan, you don't necessarily have to put nothing down with a VA home loan. So get into real estate, that's one of the best ways to do it with a VA home loan, because the only thing you have to do is pay closing costs. And you can have multiple VA home loans as well. So you got one VA home loan, you get a tenant, you rent it out, you want to go buy another home, you get another VA home loan. Like, so if you got some nephews, some cousins, or your kids are thinking about maybe joining the military, yeah, it might be a little bit difficult, but man, that VA home loan is one of the biggest ways to where you could create real estate wealth using that type of loan itself. Also, too, with a rural loan, if you stay in a rural area, you can get a rural loan where you don't have to put nothing down in itself. My sister was able to buy a house because she's in a rural area and pay nothing down. So there's different programs out there where loans where you don't put nothing down and get in these particular properties here and just have equity growing in itself. So, all right, guys, it's 9 o'clock. I didn't want to even go this long tonight, but as always, be well, be blessed, and let's continue to win. All right, guys, have a great night.